Welcome back to the epicenter of truth, where we dismantle the lies of the predator and look directly into the cold, clinical reality of the narcissistic collapse. Today, we are discussing a phenomenon so dark and so inevitable that it feels like a script from a psychological thriller. We are calling it sexual doom. It is the invisible, heavy, and inescapable curse that haunts the aging narcissist who spent their youth trading souls for fleeting physical conquests. You've seen them, haven't you? Those who moved through the world as if their beauty and their power would never fade, treating people like disposable batteries to be drained and discarded. But time is the only judge a narcissist cannot bribe, and the bill is finally coming due. Imagine a house built on sand, where every brick was a stolen moment and every pillar was a lie. In their youth, the narcissist was the architect of a grand illusion. They operated under the belief that free sex was their birthright, a bottomless well of validation they could dip into whenever their ego felt a flicker of insecurity. They mistook quantity for quality and conquest for connection. But there is a big haunting question that starts to echo in the halls of their decaying mind as the years pile up. What happens to a creature that only knows how to hunt when the forest finally goes silent? What happens when the biological capital is spent, and the only thing left is a hollow shell? The narcissist's youth was a cinema of exploitation. They used their physicality as a high-frequency weapon to bypass the filters of their victims. To them, intimacy was never a union, it was a perversion of trust. They thrived in the chaos of free sex, moving from one host to another with the cold efficiency of a parasite. But they never realized that every easy conquest was actually a withdrawal from their future sanity. They were burning the very ground they would one day need to stand on. Now, as the shadows grow longer, the reality of sexual doom begins to set in, a terrifying realization that they have absolutely nothing to sustain them in the dark. You might be watching this because you were once one of those batteries. You were the one who gave genuine warmth to a person who was only capable of mimicking it. You saw the charm, the intensity, and the magnetic pull, and you thought it was love. You didn't realize you were being interviewed for a role in their personal theater of dominance. But as you moved on and healed, they stayed behind, trapped in a loop of diminishing returns. The deadly curse we are analyzing today is the narcissist's discovery that they have successfully alienated every soul that could have truly loved them. They are now left with a sexual ego that still demands a throne, but a body that can no longer hold the sword. Let's be blunt. The aging narcissist is a tragic figure of their own making. They are addicted to the high of the new, the thrill of the chase, and the dopamine spike of the initial seduction. But when you spend decades treating intimacy as a transaction, you lose the ability to speak the language of the soul. They are now sexually doomed because they have lost the currency of youth, and they never bothered to accumulate the currency of character. They are standing in a marketplace of deep, enduring connection, but they are trying to pay with counterfeit coins from a defunct era. The result is a profound, soul-shattering isolation that no amount of cosmetic surgery or desperate hunting can fix. This is the secret knowledge that the narcissist hides behind their thinning mask. They are terrified of being invisible. To a narcissist, to be ignored is to cease to exist. In their youth, their sexuality ensured they were never ignored. It was their remote control for the world. But as the curse of sexual doom takes hold, that remote control begins to malfunction. They find themselves in rooms where no one is looking, in bars where the eyes skip over them, and in lives where they are just a footnote. The deadly curse is the silence. It is the realization that they are no longer the protagonist of the world, but a ghost haunting their own history. Think of the narcissist's history of free sex as a series of biological loans with predatory interest rates. They took the pleasure, the validation, and the power upfront, convinced they would never have to pay it back. But sexual doom is the foreclosure. It is the moment the universe demands the principal and the interest in the form of psychological rot. Because they never learned to love, they have no sanctuary. Because they never learned to be vulnerable, they have no peace. They are left with a sexual appetite that remains sharp, but a reality that is increasingly barren. They are starving at a banquet they spent their whole lives poisoning. We are entering the anatomy of a psychological suicide. This isn't just about getting older, it's about the total collapse of a personality structure built on the objectification of others. The curse is that the narcissist is now forced to be their own audience. They have to live with the memories of everyone they betrayed, everyone they used, and everyone they discarded, not with remorse, but with the agony of knowing those people are no longer available for consumption. They are the kings of a graveyard, and the free sex of their youth has become the chains of their old age. They are tethered to a version of themselves that no longer exists. You need to understand this so you can let go. You need to see that their freedom was actually a prison sentence. While you were doing the hard work of building a life based on integrity and genuine connection, they were taking the easy route that leads directly into a psychological abyss. The sexual doom they face is a total system failure. It is the inability to find comfort in a human touch because they have spent a lifetime viewing touch as a tactical maneuver. They have won the battle of youthful indulgence only to lose the war of human existence. The cinematic tragedy is that they are the only ones who don't know the credits are about to roll. Stay with me as we dive into Chapter 2, where we will break down the visceral mechanics of this curse. We will explore how their brain was rewired by the constant pursuit of novelty and how that rewiring has turned into a deadly psychological trap. This is the analytical truth that empowers you to stop feeling like the loser in their story. You are the survivor of a predator who is now being hunted by their own past. The exposure of the sexual doom is the final nail in the coffin of their grandiosity. The thriller is just getting started, and the ending is more truthful than anything they ever told you. To understand the deadly curse of the old narcissist, we must first analyze the sterile, echoing laboratory of their brain. Decades of free sex and non-committal conquests have not just been a lifestyle choice, they have been a neurological disaster. The narcissist's reward system is built on high-octane dopamine. They are addicts who have spent a lifetime chasing the hit of a new body, a new conquest, and a new reflection of their perceived greatness. But like any addict, they have built up a massive tolerance. The sexual doom is the result of a brain that can no longer find pleasure in anything that isn't a high-stakes betrayal or a total psychological conquest. Imagine a forest that has been clear-cut for short-term profit. That is the internal landscape of the aging narcissist. In their youth, they burned through the topsoil of their emotions to get to the quick, easy energy of physical gratification. Now, as they age, nothing grows. They lack the oxytocin pathways that allow normal humans to feel safe, bonded, and content in a long-term partnership. They have literally pruned away their capacity for intimacy. The curse is a biological desert. They are physically incapable of feeling the warmth of a steady love because they have spent 50 years training their brain to only respond to the fire of the initial spark. The narcissist's hidden motive in their youth was the theft of worth. Every sexual encounter was a way to siphon off the vitality and the self-esteem of their partner. They didn't want a lover, they wanted a supplied reflection. But sexual doom reveals the flaw in this strategy. You cannot live forever on stolen light. As they lose their youthful shimmer, the people they used to attract, the high-quality, empathetic souls, start to see through the cracks. The narcissist is left with low-grade supply, people who are just as hollow as they are. They are now forced to scavenge in the dark for crumbs of the adoration they once took for granted. Use the cinematic metaphor of a dying Sunday. In their prime, the narcissist's gravity was so strong that everyone was pulled into their orbit. They felt like a god, burning bright on the energy of their conquests. But as they age, they are running out of hydrogen. They are entering the red giant phase, bloated, aggressive, and desperate to consume anything nearby just to stay alive. The sexual doom is the realization that their gravity is weakening. People are drifting away. The heat is dissipating. They are becoming a white dwarf, a cold, dense, and insignificant speck in a universe that no longer revolves around them. The deadly curse is also a form of cognitive dissonance that becomes a permanent state of mind. The narcissist still views themselves as the great seducer of 20 years ago. They are trapped in a cinematic freeze frame of their glory days. When they look in the mirror, they see a masterpiece. When the world looks at them, it sees a for sale sign on a condemned building. This gap between their fantasy and reality is where the doom resides. Every failed attempt at a new conquest, every rejection from a younger target, is a narcissistic injury that cuts deep into their thinning skin. They are bleeding out from 1,000 tiny humiliations. Their internal chaos is a feedback loop of shame and grandiosity. Because they used sex as a reset button for their insecurity in their youth, they never learned how to actually process their feelings. Now, as the reset button fails to work, the shame is accumulating like toxic waste. They are haunted by the ghosts of the discarded. Not because they feel guilty, but because those people represent a potency they no longer possess. The free sex of the past is now a museum of their failures. They are surrounded by trophies that have tarnished and memories that only remind them of their current, absolute impotence. Let's talk about the metabolic cost. The narcissist's lifestyle of free sex was incredibly expensive in terms of psychological energy. It required constant masking, constant lying, and constant vigilance. As they age, they simply don't have the metabolic reserve to keep the act going. The mask is getting too heavy to hold. The sexual doom is the moment the mask finally falls and stays down. They are revealed to be a sexual scavenger who has nothing to offer but a collection of rehearsed lines and a desperate, predatory energy that repels anyone with a healthy soul. They are becoming the very thing they always mocked, a loser. There is a visceral predatory fatigue that sets in. The narcissist is tired of the hunt, but they are terrified of the silence. They have created a life where rest feels like death because they have no internal peace to rest in. Their history of free sex has left them with a shattered attachment style. They can't be alone, but they can't be with anyone either. Every new partner is just a new mirror that eventually starts to show the same rotting image. The deadly curse is the realization that they are the common denominator in every disaster of their life. They are the virus that has finally run out of healthy cells to infect. Why does this matter to you? Because it proves that their winning was an illusion. While you were suffering the withdrawal of leaving them, they were doubling down on the debt that is now crushing them. The sexual doom is the ultimate equalizer. It is the universe's way of ensuring that the predator does not escape the consequences of their choices. Their youth was a heist, but their old age is a prison. They are trapped in a body and a mind that they have systematically dismantled for 50 years. You are free to grow, they are only free to decay. We are moving into Chapter 3, the dramatic turning point. This is where the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters in public. We will explore what happens when the narcissist tries to use their old tricks on a world that has already moved on. This is the moment the deadly curse becomes an active collapse. You will see the narcissist react with a rage that is as pathetic as it is terrifying. The thriller is reaching its peak, and the secret knowledge is about to become your sovereign shield. The predator is about to discover that the free sex of the past was the bait for a trap they can never escape. The dramatic turning point in the life of the old narcissist is a cinematic fall from grace that happens in the cold, unforgiving light of the present. It starts with the failure of the mirror. For decades, the narcissist relied on the eyes of the young and the empathetic to reflect back a God image. But the sexual doom curse ensures that those eyes eventually stop looking. There is a moment, sharp and visceral, when the narcissist realizes they have become background noise. They walk into a room expecting a hush of admiration, but they are met with a wall of indifference. This is the psychological plot twist. The hunter has become invisible. Watch how the narcissist reacts when their sexual gravity fails. They don't go quietly. They enter a state of hypercompensation. They dress younger, they talk louder, and they engage in reckless provocation. They are trying to force the mirror to show them the old image. They might target someone significantly younger, a new host they hope will reset their clock. But the world is smarter now. The predatory energy they once masked as intensity now smells like desperation. The shift in power is absolute. The narcissist is no longer the prize, they are the creep that everyone is warning each other about. This is the moment the narcissist's control fails at the foundational level. In their youth, they could gaslight their way out of any rejection. They could tell themselves the other person was too weak or not on their level. But sexual doom removes the delusion of superiority. They are forced to face a string of unambiguous rejections that no amount of narcissism can spin into a victory. The deadly curse is the total loss of the script. They are an actor standing on a stage, reciting lines from a play that ended 30 years ago, and the audience is already getting up to leave. The narcissist's reaction to this loss of power is a malignant rage that they can no longer hide behind a smile. They start to attack the very concept of youth and beauty in others. They become hypercritical, bitter, and vocal about the moral failings of a world that no longer finds them attractive. This is reaction formation at its darkest. They are venting their sexual doom by trying to poison the joy of everyone around them. They are like a spiteful ghost trying to break the toys of the living because they can no longer play with them. Their indifference was always a lie. Their need is now a screaming void. The cinematic plot twist for you is the realization that they are pathologically obsessed with you. As their world shrinks, they start to revisit the people they discarded decades ago. They might reach out with a hoover that is draped in false nostalgia. They are trying to reclaim a time when they still had power. But when you look at them now, you don't see the seducer, you see a shriveled predator trying to sell a broken product. Your indifference is the final judgment in their trial. They realize that while they were chasing free sex, you were building soul equity. You have the wealth of a real life. They have a closet full of shadows. The deadly curse manifests as sexual devaluation of the self. Deep down, the narcissist has always hated themselves, but their sexual prowess was the anesthesia for that self-loathing. Now that the anesthesia is wearing off, the surgery of reality begins. They are forced to feel the full weight of their own emptiness. They look at their history of promiscuity and realize it wasn't a conquest of others, it was a hollowing out of themselves. They are sexually doomed because they have become a sexual junkie with no dealer. They are in a permanent state of withdrawal from a supply that is never coming back. Watch the social consequences as they try to game the new digital landscape of intimacy. The old narcissist is a Luddite of the soul. They try to use the same manipulation tactics on apps and social media that worked in bars in 1995. But the digital witness is permanent. Their reputation as a predator or a liar follows them like a digital shadow. The sexual doom is the death of the secret. They can't just move to a new town and start over anymore. The world has shrunk, and their history is a public record that warns everyone of the deadly curse they carry. The narcissist enters a bunker mentality. They retreat into a smaller and smaller circle of low-quality enablers and paid supply. They are sexually doomed because they have lost the ability to inspire genuine desire. Every intimacy they have now is transactional, whether it's for money, for pity, or for a temporary ego boost from someone even more broken than they are. This is the end stage of the predator. They are feeding on the sick because the healthy have all fled. It is a dark, cinematic documentary of a soul in decay, and the rot is the only thing they have left to share. Use the visceral metaphor of the gilded cage. The narcissist's past is a cage made of all the people they could have been. They are trapped in the glory of their youth, looking out at a world that is moving forward into real connection and authentic aging. The free sex of the past is the bars of the cell. They can't connect with people their own age because they view aging as a failure. They can't connect with the young because they are a threat. They are sexually doomed to a limbo of their own creation. They are living ghosts in a world of flesh. We are moving into Chapter 4, the collapse and the silence. This is where the deadly curse takes its final toll on their internal peace. We will explore the internal panic and the social erasure that defines their final years. The tone is getting harsher, more brutally truthful, and more analytical. The narcissist is about to face the ultimate consequence of a life built on disposability. They are about to discover that when you treat everyone like a prop, you eventually end up standing on an empty stage. The sexual doom is the final curtain, and the applause has been replaced by a deafening silence. The collapse of the old narcissist is a slow-motion tragedy that takes place in the grey room of their own isolation. This is the internal panic phase of the deadly curse. For 50 years, they used the noise of free sex and new conquests to drown out the screaming silence of their own emptiness. But as the sexual doom settles in, the noise stops. They are forced to sit in a room with the one person they have been running from their entire life, their true self. And that person is a monstrous stranger. The panic is absolute because they have no internal resources to cope with the reality of being alone and unimportant. Socially, the consequences of their promiscuous youth are total social erasure. The narcissist never realized that relationships are investments in the future self. By treating people as disposable utensils, they have ensured that no one is standing by their side in the winter of their life. They are sexually doomed to a clinical aging, a life of doctors, nurses, and paid help who see them not as a great seducer, but as a difficult patient. This is the ultimate humiliation. The person who once owned the room is now managed by people who find them irrelevant or exhausting. The predator has become a nuisance. The tone here is dark and brutally truthful. The aging narcissist is sexually irrelevant, and that irrelevance is a death of 1,000 cuts to their ego. They still have the hunger, but they have lost the bite. They spend their time stalking the success of others, scrolling through the social media of people who have found real love, and feeling a rage that is as hot as it is helpless. The free sex of their youth was a high-interest loan they took out on their future peace, and now the collection agency of reality is at the door. They are bankrupt in a world that demands character as collateral. Watch the unraveling of their sexual identity. The narcissist often turns to degradation or bizarre behaviors to feel a flicker of the old power. Because normal intimacy is a closed door to them, they explore the darkest corners of the human experience, looking for a new shock to reset their fried dopamine receptors. This is the end stage of sexual doom. They are descending into the mud because they can no longer reach the stars. They are perverting their own memories, turning the free sex of the past into a weapon of self-destruction. They are drowning in the sewage of their own history. The internal panic manifests as a physical decay that is accelerated by their mental rot. The narcissist's stress of losing control is a cortisol poison that withers them from the inside out. They look haggard, gray, and haunted. They are sexually doomed to a biological prison. They are trapped in a body that they hate because it no longer performs the magic it used to. They are at war with their own flesh. They spend fortunes on anti-aging and performance enhancers, but they are trying to put a new coat of paint on a rotted foundation. The doom is structural. Let's talk about the social erasure of their legacy. The narcissist has no children who respect them, no partners who cherish them, and no friends who know them. They are a biological dead end. Their history of free sex has left them with a legacy of trash. They are a disposable human who treated the world as disposable. The deadly curse is the realization that when they leave this world, they will leave no trace in the hearts of others. They are a flicker of static that is about to be swallowed by the black. They are sexually doomed to a final discard by the universe itself. The narcissist enters a state of hypervigilant paranoia. They think everyone is judging them, laughing at them, or plotting against them. This is the projection of their own self-judgment. Because they judged others by their sexual utility for decades, they assume the world is judging them by the same brutal metric. The sexual doom is the mirror they cannot break. They are haunted by the image of their own obsolescence. They are like a fading actor in a dark alley, still practicing their seductive smile for a poster that has been ripped down. The consequences reach their peak in the silence of the night. The aging narcissist is a chronic insomniac. They are terrified to sleep because the silence is when the deadly curse speaks the loudest. In the dark, the grandiosity vanishes, and they are left with the cold, hard truth. They are a vessel of regret. They have traded the eternal for the fleeting, and now they have nothing. The free sex of their youth was the anesthesia that is now wearing off, and the pain of reality is unbearable. They are sexually doomed to a wakeful nightmare. Use the cinematic metaphor of the draining battery. The narcissist's life force was always stolen. They never generated their own light. Now that they can no longer steal from others, they are dimming. They are flickering toward a permanent dark. The sexual doom is the final low battery warning. They are scrambling to plug in to anything, any drama, any conflict, any last-ditch conquest, but the outlet is dead. They are alone in a world of power with a dead soul. It is a brutal, analytical truth. The predator is starving to death in a sea of plenty. We are moving into Chapter 5, the final truth and the sovereign healing. This is where we deliver the final punch and focus on you, the survivor. We will explore how their doom is your freedom. We will provide the final closure that you don't need from them. The tone is getting empowering, cinematic, and elevated. The narcissist is trapped in the gray room, but you are walking out into the sun. The deadly curse is their fate, but healing is your choice. The secret knowledge is about to become your final victory. The credits are about to roll on their horror movie, and your epic is just beginning. We arrive at the final truth, the punch that shatters the spell and severs the chain. The narcissist's sexual doom is not a tragedy you should mourn. It is the biological justice of a universal law. You were never the loser for giving too much. They were the loser for being unable to receive. Their deadly curse is the proof of your value. The fact that they are collapsing in the silence of their sexual doom proves that the energy they took from you was the only thing keeping them human. You were the source, and they were the void. Now that you have withdrawn your light, the void is consuming itself. Emotional closure comes from the absolute recognition of their nothingness. You stop waiting for an apology, because an apology from a void is just more static. You realize that their sexual doom is the apology of the universe. The secret knowledge is that the narcissist is already dead inside. They are a biochemical ghost wandering through a life they never inhabited. Your healing begins the moment you stop looking back at the seducer and start looking forward at the sovereign. You are not a victim of a predator, you are a survivor of an entity that is now obsolete. Empowerment is the reclamation of your own narrative. The narcissist tried to write you as a disposable prop in their theater of free sex. But you have taken the pen back. You are rewriting the script of your life with integrity, authenticity, and deep connection as the lead characters. The sexual doom of the narcissist is the subplot that resolved itself. You are no longer competing with the shadows of their past. You are standing in the sun of your own future. You have transcended the dark thriller and entered a cinematic epic of self-actualization. Let's deliver the final truth punch. The narcissist's history of free sex was a declaration of bankruptcy. Every easy conquest was a confession that they couldn't afford the price of a real person. They stayed in the shallows because they were terrified of the deep. But you are the deep. You have the capacity for suffering, and therefore you have the capacity for joy. You have the capacity for loss, and therefore you have the capacity for love. The narcissist is sexually doomed because they sold their depth for a puddle. You are an ocean, and the void is drowning. The sovereign healing is a cinematic closing of the sacred self. You are sealing the doors of your nervous system to the predatory frequency. You are tuning your soul to the frequency of the real. You look at the old narcissist in their gray room of sexual doom, and you feel a clinical indifference. They have no power over you because they have no reality. They are a glitch in the simulation of love that you have already exposed. You are whole. You are sovereign. You are free. The deadly curse is their prison, and awareness is your key. Provide yourself with the final closure. I was never broken, I was only harvested. And now, I am growing again. The narcissist's sexual doom is the mulch for your new garden. You are using the pain they gave you as the fuel for your ascension. You are becoming the person they were terrified you would be, a person who is self-sufficient, spiritually aligned, and utterly untouchable. The deadly curse is the final act of their hollow drama, but your healing is the first act of a new reality. You are the alchemist of your own trauma. Think of the survivors watching this right now. We are a tribe of the awakened. We are the light that exposes the void. By witnessing the sexual doom of the narcissist, we are validating the truth of the heart. We are ending the generation of disposability. We are reclaiming the sanctity of intimacy and connection. Your healing is a revolution against the predatory matrix. You are the living proof that integrity wins. The narcissist is sexually doomed to isolation, but you are destined for union with self and with source. As the credits roll on this psychological breakdown, remember the final line. The predator's winter is silent, but the survivor's spring is a symphony. The narcissist is trapped in the memory of a heat they can never feel again. You are entering a warmth that will never fade. Their sexual doom is the static that is fading into the black. Your life is the signal that is getting stronger. You have survived the curse, and you have claimed the blessing. The thriller is over. The truth remains. You are invincible. Let the hypnotic reality of your freedom settle into your bones. The narcissist's deadly curse is a natural law that you don't need to enforce. You can drop the burden of justice and retribution. The universe is already executing the sentence. Your only job is to live. To live authentically. To live deeply. To live loudly. The sexual doom of the predator is the vacuum they created. Your life is the atmosphere that fills the space. You are the winner because you remained human in the presence of the inhuman. The final, blunt, clinical truth that the narcissist will never realize until it is too late. The free sex of their youth was the down payment on an eternal debt of loneliness, and now that the collector has arrived, they have nothing left to trade but their own disappearing shadow. You have walked out of the theater of shadows. The void is closing its eyes. You are home. You are safe. You are source. The predator is doomed, but the survivor is divine.